Today's guest is Mark Johnson. Mark is a part-time caddy that has worked on multiple different tournaments, events, as well as for multiple different golfers. Mark, how are you doing today? You okay?
Yeah, good, thanks, Alex. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. So thank you again for coming on. So just to kind of give everybody a little bit of an overview then, do you want to just talk us through a little bit in terms of some of the players that you've worked for throughout your career, some of the events that you've worked at in terms of the tournaments, and then also how you kind of got into golf in general, but also the actual caddying side of golf as well?
Yeah, I mean, so I started playing golf when I was probably maybe like 10 or 12 or something like that. Just really a summer. I was more into football, so I just really kind of played the odd pitch and putt. And then I joined a course probably when I was about 15 with my dad. Again, because I still played football, only really a summer golfer, fair weather. And just really took off from there, really. And then it was probably, well, back in 2012, I mean, my handicap was at then, I think, around 12, which was an okay standard, but I knew I was never going to do anything with it other than just social golf. And then I knew there was a tournament, and I'd always gone to see tournaments at my local club, Woburn Golf Club. I went to go and see the British Masters and things like that when Nick Faldo won it. I think Justin Rose might have won it as well. And they had an event up there for the seniors, which I'd been to, I think, once or twice to watch. And I thought, oh, maybe I can try and caddy. I'd had no experience whatsoever. So I thought, how can I go about this? So I thought, I emailed the European Tour and see if I get anything. Anyway, they come back to me and said, oh, you need to send an individual email to the player you want, and we'll pass it on. So, okay, right. So I just picked maybe 5 or 6 that I kind of heard of and that were English. They sent off the email. 5 of them probably come back and just said, oh, no, sorry. I've got my brother, I've got my son, I've got a caddy already. Yeah. So I was like, oh, fair enough. And then a guy called Andrew Murray, he come back to me and said, oh, currently I've got my son doing it, but he may be at college. If he's not at college, then obviously he'll let me know. And I was like, oh, great. So I left it like a week, and then suddenly got an email from him saying, yeah, do you want a caddy for me? And I was like, wow, never done anything like this in my life. So I started having a look into it, see what a caddy does and things. And I said to him, I said, look, I'm honest, I love golf. I've never caddied, so just wanted to let you kind of know. And he was the nicest guy I could have picked as my first guy to work with. He currently does a lot of coaching with young kids, so he's very patient. So he helped me out a lot on that first tournament I ever did with him at Woburn. And I was, well, let's just say I was very nervous.
I can imagine.
Dropping towels all over the place. And but no, he was really good, and he really helped me just guide me what he wants from me. But also, if I wanted to do it in the future, what a caddy should do. And after the first day, it was a bit nerve-wracking. Got a few numbers wrong because I was like taking away rather than adding on from certain points and things like that. But he would always check my numbers anyway, and I'd put that down to nerves, really. But then from then on, the rest of the tournament, I absolutely loved it, and I thought, oh, I'd love to do this again. Anyway, so I carried on. So I didn't really think anything of it. I just had a job at the time, and then it came around to the next year, and it was always held at Woburn. So I just contacted him because I had his number, and I said, oh, did you need a caddy again if you're playing? And he said, yeah, you can do it again. And I was like, wow, this is good. So anyway, that carried on for 2012, 13, 14, and 15, I think. 16 was the last year.
I think you mentioned you did it on the seniors, wasn't it? So 2012 to 2016.
Yeah. And then I'd always only just done Woburn just because it was local to me. And then 2015, he messaged me and said, oh, how do you feel about a trip to Scotland? Come and caddy for me. I was like, oh, wow, okay. So I must be doing something all right in the last few years. So yeah, I went up to Scotland for the Senior Scottish Open and worked with him. I'm pretty sure that was 2015. And then 2016, unfortunately, that was the last time I did caddy for him but that was because Woburn stopped holding the event there. And he wasn't actually on the tour at that point. He was getting an invite because he knew it was sponsored by Travis Perkins at the time. And he knew the chief executive officer, and he'd always play with him in the Pro-Am. So he got an invite to the tournament, but unfortunately Travis Perkins pulled out. So the actual event stopped being at Woburn, which was a shame because they used to get probably at least 10,000 people through the door, which is pretty good for a seniors event. Yeah. Where they've had like Colin Montgomery win it 3 times in a row. Ian Woosnam was always play there. So there's some big former names playing. But yeah, unfortunately that just stopped. So in 2016, that was when, because I'd had links with Woburn, I knew people at Woburn. I'm actually a member of the course, which is just a mile away. And then they had the British Open, the Women's British Open being held there. So I thought, I'll chance it and put my name down at Woburn just in case any players want any caddies. So I put my name down. I was first on their list because I'd done previous events at Woburn. Then I got a call from the guy and he said, "Oh, I've got a player who wants a caddy." I was like, "Okay, great. Who is it?" And he was like, "It's this South Korean girl called Sung-Yun Park." Now, I didn't really know too much about the ladies' golf at the time. And I thought, "Oh God, who's this?" So I looked her up and she was ranked 14 in the world at the time. And I thought, wow, I've got. So I looked at her and she'd won about, I think, 6 times that year on the Korean tour. I was like, wow, this could be good. They did tell me, unfortunately, she doesn't speak very much English, which I thought, okay, right, I'll try and see if I can learn a couple of little words in Korean just to sort of greet her and say hello and things. Sure. So I got that. So I started my prep because I knew the Marquis course anyway quite well. So I've done some prep. And then the Monday before the tournament is the qualifier. So I also put my name down for that. This was prior to getting the bag. And I got an email from the club saying an American girl needed a caddy for the qualifier, the Monday qualifier to get into the British Open. A girl called Sydney Clanton. So I said, yeah, okay, I'll do that. I'd already got the bag in the British Open, so I thought I was just an extra bit of experience for me. And the Korean girl Sung-Young wasn't arriving until the Tuesday, so I thought, that's fine, I can do it Monday, and then I can meet her on Tuesday. So anyway, so I did a bit of prep for the qualifier. Met Sydney on the day of the tournament. She didn't have any. She basically just relied on me having the course knowledge. Anyway, we shot 5 under and qualified. I was like, brilliant. Great, this is awesome. Finished, I think we were 2nd or 3rd in the actual qualifier. And then she said, "Oh, are you able to do the British this week for me?" And I was like, "Oh God, I've already been asked, but I've already said yes to this other girl." So this was the first time this has ever happened. I've got 2 people wanting to kind of caddy. So I went and I actually spoke to Andrew. And I called him up and said, "Look, this is a predicament I'm in. What do I do?" And he said, "If I were you, stick to who you've already said yes. Yes, it's great that you've got this girl qualified, but you've already said yes. And players will hate it if you ditch them for something else." And I was like, "That's fine." I was going to just before the tournament as well. Yeah, exactly. She obviously come over in the hope that she would qualify. I'm sure in the end, she did actually sort out a caddy anyway, thankfully. So I stuck with my guns and I stayed with Sung-Yun Park, the Korean. And she was really nice to work with. Yes, it was limited English, but golf's a worldwide kind of international. Yeah. You can talk golf lingo while you're caddying. And her family were lovely. They all come along and help support. So yeah, that was a really, really good experience because obviously it's my first, it was a major. It was at my home clubs, which helped. I knew the course really well, so I could help guide around a bit and like target lines and things like that. So yeah, that tournament went really well. And then I thought, okay, that's it for me now. I'm gonna just like get back to playing golf. I was just doing it just for kind of almost a hobby kind of thing. So anyway, the next year come round, and so just going back to to arrange everything with Sungkyung, I got given her management kind of information, and they set up this on this like Korean WhatsApp kind of app. So I just left that. I didn't delete the app. I just left it, just ignored it. Anyway, the next year come round, and I think on the Friday morning, I woke up to it because it was, I woke up to a WhatsApp from this Korean manager. He said, "Oh, are you able to caddy next week at King's Barnes in Scotland?" I was like, "What?" And he said, "Oh yeah, I've got a player called Min Young Lee who needs a caddy. Can you do it?" And I was like, "Wow, okay." I make some contact calls at work. Can I have the next week off? Yeah, that's fine. Obviously, I've now got to try and find a hotel and how I'm going to get there and things like that. So I managed to do all that, all on that Friday, which was quite handy. And then met her on the Tuesday, I think it was, again. So I got another caddy gig at another British Open. Hadn't done anything since, yet I'm here caddying at back-to-back kind of majors, which I thought was
incredible,
pretty impressive for just a part-time. So I must have been doing something right, and otherwise I don't think the management would have.
100%, yeah.
So yeah, that was great. King's Barnes is a beautiful course, and I don't know if you've ever been there or played there. But,
I haven't, no, not yet. Not been lucky enough to play it, but I've definitely seen a lot of it. Yeah.
It's a really nice course. So again, she spoke limited English, but again, golf lingo. You can work out together when you're going around a course of how to go about. We can probably go on a bit about what a caddy does and things like that. Just give you a bit
definitely going to
background
get into
of
that,
what another fantastic week. Unfortunately, she did miss the cut. Now that wasn't, well, I think weather played a big part, because we were 2 under through 13 or 14 holes into the second round, and I think the cut mark was level, I think, or 1 over. Can't remember. And it absolutely hacked it with rain.
Right.
And the wind got up, and she just made some errors that any golfer can do. Well, I think we missed the cut by 1, which was really gutting, because throughout the first round and the other hole, I don't think she put a foot wrong, and she could have been, at that round, she could have been 8 under. Every putt just glided past. And
how many holes were you through when? So you said she was 2 under. 2 under.
Yeah, 2 under. I think she was 2 under through 13 or 14 holes. I think it was on the second day.
And the cut was like par or 1 over.
Yeah. Right, we just dropped some silly shots, which is gutting. I know, because I could tell she was gutted as well.
Was it like a little bit of a? Did you sort of go a bit defensive maybe with the cut on the mind, or did she kind of just stick with a normal golf?
I think probably in the last 2 holes, definitely, and then that's where you don't just play the normal aggressive free for all golf kind of thing. And she was, I can't make a bogey, and then all she starts thinking is bogey kind of thing, probably. Obviously I can't tell too much of what she was going on ahead, because we weren't able to communicate loads like you would someone who could speak English, or if I was Korean or something. But you could just tell that she wasn't playing the same as what she had done the previous day and the first, at least the first 9, which it happens to every golfer.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of weather as well on a course like that, or just playing that style of golf is something completely different, especially for the players that maybe aren't used to it, aren't they? That don't
definitely. These internationals aren't. Yeah, they're not used to links golf with this 45-mile-an-hour winds and rain, and they're probably used to sort of 30-degree heats with occasional winds kind of thing. So it's probably a good learning curve for her as well. But yeah, unfortunately, we did miss the cut, which was a shame. Then 2018, I only done a couple of local things. One of Andrew's friends, he was a senior, and I think he was playing off like +3 or something. Steve Creed, he contacted me and said, because he knew I'd caddied for Andrew. He said he was going to try and get into he was only an amateur. He was going to try and get into the Senior Open. So I went up to Scotland for that. Unfortunately, we missed out by 1 shot, which was gutting. He played really well that day. It was just one loose tee shot, which really kind of cost him.
It's not bad though, is it? For what do you say? It was a free handicap.
Yeah, it was +3. He was an amateur though. He wasn't a pro or anything.
Yeah, so
yeah, he did really well.
Good going.
Yeah, and then I caddied for Georgia for the first time for US Open qualifying at the Buckinghamshire. Again, I think she missed out on maybe 2 or 3 shots, but it was over 36 holes in a day, which is quite tough.
Right. Okay.
For a qualifier.
Yeah.
Some of the times it's just normal 18 holes, but for the US Open, for some reason, they make it 36 holes. So it's quite a long day.
I bet. Yeah.
And then 2019, that was again at the British Open. It was back at Woburn. So again, I put my name down. My dad was actually working at Woburn at the time. And might have been playing my own course, Club Champs. And I remember I looked at my phone halfway and I had like 7 missed calls from my dad saying, ring me. So I rang him like halfway because ours was a 36-hole competition. He said, "Oh, they need someone's needs a caddy for next week. Do you want a caddy?" And I was like, "Yes." Put my name down. Say yes. So he went back to the guy and said, "Yes, he can do it." And that was a Japanese amateur called Yuka Yasuda. Again, limited English. A family all come over with a couple of coaches. Again, we met up on the Monday, was it? Or the Tuesday? Might have been the Tuesday for practice round. Again, got on really well. She was lovely. Again, really, it seems as though the international girls are really they're all really calm. They never seem to like get flustered or anything like that. So yeah, she was an amateur. We made the cut, which was our first target, because I think she wanted to win best amateur. Unfortunately, we missed out by the best amateur, I think by 2 shots. Again, a couple of silly little errors, which can cost players a few shots. But she played lovely, and she was really good to work with. And then 2020, I messaged a few players on Instagram just to see if they needed a caddy for the Scottish Open. A couple of them come back to me and said, "No, I've already got someone." And then I got a message from Yu Jung Sun, and she said, "Oh, a friend of mine said that you're looking to caddy and I need a caddy." So I was like, "Okay, great, yeah, I can do that." So she was playing on the LPGA. She was a rookie on the LPGA. She was Japanese, but she could speak English. She was basically American. So yeah, we come over, and obviously she hadn't got into the British Open or anything yet, but she was coming over to the Scottish Open. So our first aim was obviously to make the cut, and then second aim was can we make the British Open, because there was a number of spots because of COVID. The spots actually increased for the British Open because there was a number of players that couldn't come over for certain reasons and restrictions and things. So we were lucky enough that we made the cut, and all we had to do was, I think there was only 2 places that out of all the people, because there was obviously exemptions already into the British Open, the girls that made the cut were already in. So there was only 2 places that I think weren't going to get in. So I think she actually birdied 3 of the last 4 holes, which easily secured our place into the British Open the following week. So she asked me to obviously carry on and stay. Originally, I hadn't booked off work, so luckily my work were okay with booking an extra week off to stay on and caddy at Royal Troon, which was lovely.
Great course.
Such a nice course, yeah. It played tough though the first 2 days, because she did actually miss the cut. But if you look at the scores, there was a lot of high scores from a lot of good players, because it was again 50-mile-an-hour winds, rain, for pretty much 2 days solid, which is a shame because the 2 days previous it was like no wind, sunshine,
perfect conditions.
Yeah, it was perfect conditions. Yeah. So yeah, we had a good almost 2 weeks with her, and then 2021 this year. They had the Justin Rose Ladies Series. I don't know if have you heard of what he'd done for all the ladies? Yeah,
funny you should say that. I've actually just booked tickets to go to the event at the JCB.
Lovely.
This morning it's at the JCB Golf and Country Club. It's called.
Yeah.
Incredible golf course there. so yeah, I mean, I love the work that they do, and obviously Justin and his wife have done. And I saw that there was an event that popped up that's fairly close to me. I'm based in Manchester, so yeah, funny enough, I just bought some tickets this morning to go. It's going to be
lovely.
fun. Yeah,
it'll be good to have some fans back.
Yes, I know.
Which is good because they had one at Woburn, which I carried caddied for Georgia at, and unfortunately, obviously, only had I think they had a very limited amount of members only were able to watch a few holes.
Right.
But that was it. Unfortunately, it wasn't her day. But she's developing. She's come a lot since I first caddied for her, Georgia. She quickly realised, and with a little bit of help from me, because I've done some caddying for the LET players and LPGA, she wanted to know what the standard kind of was that she needed to get to.
Sure.
So she knew that she needed to increase her club head speed to be able to get extra distance, because she was lacking in that. She's hitting hybrid where they're hitting 7-iron, and it's so much easier to control the ball at 7-iron. Just as an example kind of thing. So she's been working on that over the last year, and she's hopefully going to reap the rewards very soon. And then there was an event which happened 2 weeks ago now, held at Centurion Golf Club for the Amcro Team and Individual Series event. So it's sponsored by a company in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
So they had a team event and an individual event running alongside each other. So basically what happened, so just going back, sorry. So yeah, I actually only contacted one player, which was Christine Wolf, and just said, "Oh, do you need a caddy?" And she said, "Yes, that'd be great." I was like,
awesome.
Perfect. So basically it was almost like they had 36 teams. Christine was actually a captain, and then they have a draft pick. So they pick one player, one professional, and then the other professional is randomly drawn. And then they get randomly selected an amateur. Okay. So you have a team of 4 and the best 2 scores, basically. So they had the team event, which was the higher prize fund for them. So that's why it was quite a good team camaraderie, because you want your players in your team to do well, but also you want to do well yourself. Sure. But if you've done well yourself, you tend to, if you were individually playing well, that would probably mean that your team's doing quite well anyway. But we had a really good team, and we finished 5th overall out of 36 teams, which was nice. I think we were only 2 birdies back from second place. I think first place were like 5 shots clear of second. They won it quite comfortably. And then Christine, I think, was 24th overall out of like 120 pros. So that was a really good week. And she's actually playing in a major out in Evian this week, and I've just been keeping an eye on her score this morning, and she was doing quite well, but I think she finished 1 over. Which is okay. Morning, right? Yeah, which is an okay solid start. And then my next event is the Scottish Open in a couple of weeks' time.
I was going to say, what's kind of the future then? How many sort of events have you got lined up as of right now?
Yeah, so that's my only one with the Scottish Open, and potentially the British Open, which is like the week after. That will either be with, so I'm caddying for a girl called Ellie Givens. So she's an English girl. So hopefully we can qualify either via the Scottish Open, because I think there's maybe about 8 places available through that. Or if we don't do that, then I'm going to do final qualifying with her on the Monday, which again, I think there may be about 6 spots, available then. So hopefully I can carry on for the next week.
Right. So this time you've not double booked.
I haven't double booked, no. Just
in case she qualifies.
No, but I'm hoping. Well, if Ellie doesn't qualify and Christine qualifies, then I don't know if she may have a caddy lined up, because she may have someone for the Scottish and the British. But if she doesn't, then I've got that person. And with being up there in Scotland in the bubble because of COVID, there may be some other girls that are travelling over that I might be able to get hold of if Ellie doesn't make it. That I might be able to. So I'm not going to rule it out. I've got the week off work, which is fine. So hopefully I'll have 2 weeks in Scotland and have another good couple of weeks.
Awesome, man. I mean, considering it was kind of a a shot in the dark then, if you like, from the very start of your career with Andrew. It's just kind of like you said, a kind of message sent out there. It's been an awesome experience for you so far, then being able to do all these events, work with all these players, and then obviously now continue to do more. I want to like dive into a little bit more about being a caddy now. Just for anybody listening, I think this kind of insight is going to be great. So as obviously a player yourself who played at what sounded like a decent level, how did you find the transformation and going from a player to then being able to caddy for somebody? And like, what would you say like the major differences are that you, in terms of knowledge and what you need to know and what you need to be able to do between being a player and then being able to caddy a player?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're elite players, so they are a hell of a lot better than me. As a player, when I'm lining up for a tee shot, all I'm thinking is hit the fairway. Whereas I quickly learned that they're quite, they like to point small things. So I'll give them, say there's a pylon in the background and that's our target line, or we'll pick out a tree because they can 9 times out of 10 hit that target kind of thing, because I know that, okay, first hole, pins on the left hand side, we need to be right half of the fairway. So we'll find a target in the distance, whether it's a corner over a bunker or anything like that. So they like to pick small things rather than just, if I just as a caddy just went, I've just did it straight down the middle. Like occasionally there will be times where it's just, you don't need to worry about anything. You can open up your shoulders and just hit it a bit harder down the middle. But most of the time we'll pick small targets for them to aim at. And I think that kind of helps them concentrate. And when you just see them hit the ball exactly where you're telling them, it's a great feeling. And then, I mean, short game, they work so much on, like putting wise, they'll spend a lot of time working on their putting. Whereas the average amateur you see when you go up a golf club, they may go to the driving range during the week, hit 100 balls. The only times they're going to practice putting is probably 5 minutes before they tee off. Whereas if you actually work out the number of shots you actually take putting, it's pretty much like a third of your shots, but no one practices it. Whereas professionals, they do, because they know that most professionals will hit the ball the same distance wise. They're not going to make too many mistakes, so it could potentially always come down to putting. So that's why they spend so much time on that, because if they save themselves 3 or 4 shots, that can win them a tournament.
Sure, that's a very good point on both there. I mean, in terms of the kind of aim point, it's something that, I mean, we obviously hear it on the TV, right? They're always kind of like, oh, do you see the TV tower, or do you see that tree, etc. And as you said, they've always kind of got that aim point rather than just get it on the green or what have you. And I know Rory talks about that a lot when you watch him doing the kind of tutorial videos on the golf channel, etc. He talks about he doesn't like to go, oh, I'm going to go over this bunker and just get it on the left side of the fairway. He wants a more literally like a specific area on that fairway that he's going for, because that helps him with his, whether it's his eye line or whatever it is, it just helps him have that target, dial in exactly. And with the second one, again, it's a really good point and something that I'm personally guilty of. I mean, I've started to do it now in the last few months, is make sure to spend an hour, chipping and putting after the driving range, because it's a great point. You are normally taking the most shots on the green, and I think again, it's something that all the PGA players, whether it's coaches or broadcasters, they always talk about that, in terms of sometimes a tournament will just literally come down to who's putting the best. And so it's a great point of what you make there. So I mean, that's really interesting. So in terms of like, let's say you had a tournament then this week, or starting Monday, and you've got the weekend after is the tournament. What sort of preparation are you doing? I mean, obviously you try to balance as well your work and personal life and all that kind of stuff, but for let's say a British Open, then what sort of preparation and week are you having on the build up to that tournament?
Well, so if I take the recent tournament I've just like caddied at, so I'd actually played the course once or twice, I think it was, but probably like 4 years ago. So I remember a few holes, but I would always go and walk the course. And I think that's really important. So I would first of all try and get a course guide, because they normally have, I mean, I've actually bought one with me. I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah.
So this is the type of thing that we get.
I was just about to ask you that about all the notes, etc. That's awesome.
Yeah, we don't normally get that until Monday or the Tuesday, the tournament week. So you can't get that. So if you want to do anything prior, unfortunately, Centurion, they didn't even have any course guides. They just don't have them full stop, which I found very odd. But anyway, so I just took a bit of paper and wrote some notes down so I could transfer that to when I got my actual course mapping book. But yeah, I would always walk the course. And what I would do is I'd stand on the tee, look at the course guide and see what shape of the hole it is, whether there's anything in particular I can pick out there and then for target lines, like in the distance, especially if she hasn't, or the player I'm caddying for hasn't played there before. I'd then walk down the middle of the fairway and look back as well, just to see what it looks like from the other angle. Again, I would do that looking into the green. And then as I'm walking around each hole, I will make notes of where not to go, because I think that's the most important thing. So if you've got a green that is dead long, like cannot go long, I'll put some big red crosses just in my, I don't want to put that negativity to them, but in my planner, I'm saying, no, do not go long.
You basically try to identify the good misses and the bad misses in every shot.
Yes, definitely. Because I want her to have the best opportunity to score well on that hole without putting her in any kind of danger. So, for instance, at Centurion, the first hole is a par 5, bit of a dog leg, but at the back of the green there's a big slope and it goes down into like a woodland area. So I instantly made a note, right, we cannot go long. Like the green slopes from back to front anyway, so anywhere short is always going to be uphill. So that was my first point of, right, cannot go long. And also it was a reachable par 5 anyway, and there wasn't going to be too much danger in going for it. So again, I'd make that note saying, yes, we can be aggressive on this hole. We don't have to play to safety and hit a 3-wood off the tee and then hit an iron and then lay up kind of thing.
And I imagine, just like most golfers, an uphill putt is always going to be the one that you'd prefer, right? So, you know, in that explanation, in that particular case you just talked about there, leaving it maybe short would end up being better and giving yourself that uphill putt. Yeah,
definitely. And I'd always take a couple of golf balls with me, and when I get to the green, I'd always just throw a ball, like onto the green and just see how they roll. Pick up a few different slopes, see how quickly they're going, just things like that. So that's what I'd probably do pretty much every single hole. So I'd walk the whole course. If I happen to come across any members that were playing, I would always just ask them for any things that, because obviously they're playing there every single day. So they've probably more than likely seen most of the hole or most of the course on every single position. So again, if I see any and they're quite handful, I'll just ask them if they've got any small tips that may help me when we're actually going through our practice rounds and things.
Sure.
And then when it comes to practice rounds, it'll be a case of, right, we'll just discuss on the tee where's the target line, what we want to hit, what the wind's doing, which is just general things anyway. And then chipping and putting around in practice greens, they will tend to do themselves, because they will go places where they also thinking, oh, I might end up here, or this is a difficult spot, let me just go and practice. So if I do get in that spot in a competition, I know the difficult shot it is, and I know how it's going to come out and things.
Sure. And in terms of communication with the player then, either in that practice round or before the actual first round starts. So, I mean, you talked about there, obviously you're making all your own notes and having all that information, but a good point there that you said is that you're not going to be telling the player like, this is the good miss and the bad miss or whatever, because you don't want to put that negative thought in their head.
No, definitely not.
How do you kind of transfer the information over to the player then to say, you know, look, I've looked at the course, this is what I've seen, this is what I think we should do, this is what I think we shouldn't do. Like, how do you kind of give that information to the player? And do they ever give you any kind of pushback on some stuff like, well, I'd rather do this, or I'd rather not do that, based off your notes?
I mean, I will always, obviously I'll know how far they hit the ball, in terms of carry distance. We'll work out the wind. So if it's, say, a back pin, and she wants to hit a club that is a normal shot will take her 5 yards past that pin, I will recommend the club shorter, because I know that back's dead. So I won't say, oh, long's dead. I will say something along the lines of, let's take a 7-iron, because I think being short of the hole will give us a better putt. So that we don't talk about the fact that if you go long, it's dead and you're going to make a double. We talk about the fact that being short is going to give you that birdie chance.
Sure.
So most players will both get the yardage, just so we can confirm that we've got the numbers correct. We'll get to the front of the green, or if there's anything that we need to ensure that we clear, like a ridge in the green, or whether there's a bunker then the pin's over, we need to clear that. So it'll always be the front and then the pin. Then we'll work out whether there's the course guide does give you how far it plays uphill, how far it plays downhill. So you take that into consideration in yardage. Then we take into obviously the wind. And then we will tend to, it depends on each player. Sometimes I will say, right, I think this is a 7-iron, or I will say, what do you think? And if she says 7-iron as well, I say, yes, perfect. I love that club. Or if I am thinking it's a 6, I'll tell her, and I'll tell her my reasons why. Obviously it depends on the player and how they want to kind of react with you. Some like to make all decisions, some like to actually have your impact. The ones I've caddied for so far have been really good, and they will actually they do listen and take into your points, and then we'll come up with a decision basically. I mean, yes, the ultimate decision is theirs. I can put forward my case and the reasons why, but they're the ones hitting the shot, so they've got to trust and feel that they are hitting the right club. Yeah.
And I mean, it depends on the player, of course, but how common is kind of a bit of pushback from the player, not maybe aggressively, but just in terms of, I'm not, I think that maybe you're wrong here, or I'm right, and this is what I want to do. Does that kind of thing happen often, or is it sometimes just a case of trying to find a balance between both your opinions, or how
I think it is finding that balance. At the end of the day, like I said, they know what they hit. They're hitting balls in day out. Yes, it might be different if I was to caddy for them full time, because I'd get to know them a lot more. With most of these players, I've probably only caddied for the once. So it's kind of like I can put my opinion, but I will always back them if they believe otherwise. There are times when I get it wrong, or she will get it wrong, or we'll both get it wrong. But you just have to kind of move on from that as best you can.
Just take it one shot at a time. One question I had as well, like, I mean, I imagine you've kind of worked this more out now as you've got more and more experience over the years, but in that example, when you first started and you said, like, I've got this first woman that I've never heard of, and she happened to be 14th in the world, but you knew nothing about her. So in terms of, again, when you're getting all your notes and you're trying to figure out kind of the plan, apart from the yardage, maybe that the player hits the ball, what sort of other information, if any, are you kind of asking from the player or from their management team or whoever it is, their coaches, to help you do your job better? Because maybe not just yardage is important, right? It's also what type of shots they like to hit, what they don't like to hit.
I mean, I always find out whether they like to hit it straight, a draw, or a fade. What's their go-to kind of shot shape. I'd always ask what they want from me as well, because every player is different. So for instance, Ellie next week, I've already asked her what she wants from me. And one of the things she doesn't want, she just wants putting wise, she'll just do on her own. Like if she does want anything, then she'll ask me. So as a caddy, I will always look at the line. So I'm in prep in case she asks me, but majority of the time she will probably just do that on her own. So I'll always ask what they want from me. So for instance, and the players, I think you have to be really honest with each other as well. So when I was caddying for Christine, it was on the first day and par 5, and I think we had like something like 70 yards in or something. And I said to her, I said, I think you should be hitting this 4 or 5 yards left. And she said to me, like, said, "Oh, can I just say, like, on these like approach wedge shots," said, "I like to kind of say to you where I should be hitting it rather than you telling me." So I was like, "No, that's fine. You're the player. Right, now I know. So I know that I'm not going to annoy her by saying that again, but I will still work out where I think we need to." And then if she says to me, so it's kind of like understanding the player's needs and what they like, because you want them to feel the most comfortable and no like stress or worrying about what I'm going to say or anything like that. You just be fully relaxed. They know what they're going to do, and they can execute the shots. So it's all about just.
I mean, I guess a lot of it as well is kind of like you said there, is getting to know the actual player as well. You have to, you know, maybe they're not a talker, maybe they are a talker. So do you spend much time with a player before, say, even the practice round? Would you go out for dinner with them, just try and get to know them as a person
not
first?
Really, no. I mean, during like the practice and stuff, we'd meet for like, say, breakfast. If we had a morning tee off, we'd have breakfast together. And then during the course, because it's a long day. I mean, just at Centurion, I'd be leaving sort of like, if we had a first day, I think we teed off at 12:30. I think we met for 9:30. So we knew that we'd have like a good hour just of chilling and breakfast. And then she could just take her time kind of. So I was with her from like 9:30 through till 6:30 or so. So you do spend quite a bit of time together. So you do kind of get to know them, especially like the first time caddying for them. You want to kind of spend a bit of time with them. But in terms of like dinner and things after, it's kind of like they want to go and do their own thing to relax. You'll get some caddies and players, probably the full-time ones, or if they're like related or like brothers are on the bag and things like that, they would probably do things more in an evening. So I think every player and caddy relationship's different.
No, I just meant more like maybe before the tournament, just to get to know them as a person, because I mean, I guess you can do that during the practice round, but it must be normally the caddy that has to, or at least in your situation, as you said, where it's not a full-time thing, you have to more adapt to the player, obviously, rather than them adapting to you. Because if you look at somebody like Bryson DeChambeau, for example, now he's like working every single little angle out, and he's looking at absolutely everything. Jordan Spieth, massive talker, loves to just talk. Whereas some players, they just go, right, I just want to know what's the wind doing, what's the yardage, or what my number is. No, definitely. And then we're going. So for you personally, if let's say all players were the same, what sort of caddy are you? Are you just going, right, here's the shot, here's the number, here's the wind, let's go for it? Or
I
like to talk and give a lot of information?
I like to think that I'll get my numbers quickly. And assess that. I'd always assess. So part of the like prep, you'd always work out which way the wind's going anyway for the day, and then I'd mark on each hole which way it should be going. If it turns, then obviously you have to make that adjustment. So I'd always get my number and thing, and I'd always quickly in my head, because I've played golf and I'm quite a good at course strategy person. I may not be able to do it myself, but I can quickly analyze and see the shot. So I feel as though I always want to give my kind of opinion of what I see. And in terms of when you were saying getting to know the player, I kind of do that because I've always got the bag like maybe a week or so before. We would be in conversation like via text and things. So I'd be asking questions about what they want, just little things. So when it comes to meeting them, I'm already prepped for what type of player they are and what they want from me. So we can because we obviously only have, most of the time it's like maybe 2 practice days. So you want to kind of hit the ground running, know exactly what your player wants from you, how to get the best out of them. So it's kind of done pre-tournament by kind of talking and things. That's how I've worked anyway previously.
Sure. Well, listen, Mark, I'll let you go. That's always been an hour already. It's flown by, but it was absolutely incredible to kind of get an insight from a caddy and learn the life of a caddy. It's really been interesting. So thank you for taking the time out to do this. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
No problem. So anybody that wants to check you out, they can find you on Instagram at Mark J Golf Caddy, and then hopefully we'll see you at the British Open.
Yes, fingers crossed.
All right, perfect, Mark. Thanks very much for your time.
No worries.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Take care. Bye-bye.